How to be a slave. Of the many diabolical fetishes of the human species, very few compare to their yearning for ownership. They long for the possession of wealth, the possession of stature, the possession of power, and most horrifyingly, the possession of other humans. Slavery is generally considered to be one of the severest forms of human rights violation. It is a detestable malice that should ordinarily be distant from any species of higher order intelligence like the humans. But despite its horrendous resumé, documented from the moronic acts of the transatlantic slave trade to the predatory exploitations of the Viking race, slavery remains the most durable and malignant form of cancer among the humans, seemingly flourishing wherever human desires flourish. To their credit, the majority of the human species despises the idea of slavery. The very word is triggering to them. It has been so stigmatized that it is practically alienated from their vocabulary due to the trauma it provokes. They dread the imagery of other humans in chains, barebacks whipped at master's whims, bodies drenched in sweat from hard labor, children predestined to ownership, their lives equal in value to the horses they plow the fields with. Slavery, for all its gore, has existed in alternate forms throughout recorded human history. It is from a legal standpoint largely abolished, for the humans cannot conceive of a valid reason for the commoditization of their own kind. The consensus of the general populace sums up to the conclusion that slavery is grotesque, slave masters deranged, and their apologists psychopaths. But amongst the humans, there's a scandalously radical group of hyper-idealistic human rights activists. They despise slavery more vehemently than their peers. Their entire worldview is centered around the non-negotiable freedom for all. Yet, in the most spectacular of contradictions, they affirm that slavery is bad because the master is bad. The other humans consider them a deranged spectacle, a living contradiction, for they declare themselves freedom fighters for all, but choose to be slaves to someone. They narrate the most excruciating form of slavery, one in which their master has complete ownership of them and theirs. He owns all of them, therefore he owns all their struggles as his. They are his possession, therefore he claims all their pain as his. These demented freedom fighters know no sorrow of their own. They know no suffering of their own. They have no failures of their own. For their master lays claim to them instantly. They insist that the greatest freedom comes from being slave to the right master. A master for whom his slaves are not mere objects of his pleasures, but living treasures opportune to be slaves to his will and person. He is joy, so they are slaves to joy. He is love, so they are slaves to love. He is peace, so they are slaves to peace. They are creatures with no choice but to experience love, joy, peace. They are slaves indeed. Nevertheless, they live a life superior to emperors. They affirm to have a master who would never trade them, for there is none that places greater value on them than he who purchased them for the price of his life. These raging psychopaths scold Christians and their slave master Jesus are an abominable beauty, a picturesque catastrophe, but an undeniable epitome of freedom.